If you spend your life pouring from an empty cup, the world will take every last drop and still ask for more. But hear me clearly, you are not on this earth to be consumed. You are here to be whole. There is a quiet revolution that begins the moment a person learns to honor themselves. It does not come with trumpets, it does not shout in the marketplace, but it comes like the sunrise, slow, steady, undeniable. To respect yourself is to recognize the holy ground on which you stand. And one of the greatest acts of self-respect is to build boundaries, not out of cruelty, not out of coldness, but out of love. Boundaries are not cages. They are not punishments. They are declarations of worth. They are the simple, unshakable truth that says, I belong to myself first. For too long, many of us were told that kindness means saying yes, even when it burns us alive inside. We were taught that to be good is to be accommodating, to bend until our backs break, to silence our voices so others may speak freely. But my dear, let me tell you something vital. The earth does not apologize for its mountains. The ocean does not feel guilty for its tides. And you must not feel guilty for the shape of your soul, the borders of your heart, the limits of your energy. When you create a boundary, you are not saying, I do not love you. You are saying, I love me too. You are not slamming a door. You are building a doorway. And only those who can honor your dignity may pass through. A boundary is not about shutting people out. It is about letting the right ones in. And when you refuse to build boundaries, you do not look noble, you look exhausted. You do not look selfless, you look broken. Because without boundaries, your soul becomes a marketplace where anyone can set up shop, take what they please, and leave you barren. Let us talk plainly. How many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no? How many times have you swallowed your discomfort because you feared someone else's disapproval? How many nights have you lain awake, your spirit restless, because you abandoned yourself in order to please another? Each of those moments was a wound upon your soul, a small betrayal of your truth, and betrayal repeated becomes normal. That is the most dangerous thing of all, when disrespect becomes routine, when exhaustion becomes familiar, when silence becomes your language. But boundaries, dear heart, are the medicine. They are the salve you place upon the bleeding edges of your life. Each time you say, this is what I can allow, this is what I will not accept, this is where I draw the line, you are stitching yourself back together. It is not selfish, it is sacred, because what good is your love if it is given resentfully? What good is your help if it leaves you empty? What good is your presence if you are so drained that your smile is a mask and your laughter is hollow? Respecting yourself enough to create boundaries ensures that when you give from fullness, not from famine. Now, people may resist. They will say you've changed. They will call you difficult. They will try to tug at your guilt like children pulling at a mother's sleeve. But remember this. Their resistance is not proof you are wrong. It is proof that your boundaries are working. For those who have feasted on your silence, your no will taste bitter. For those who have grown accustomed to your constant availability, your absence will sting. But that discomfort belongs to them, not to you. You are not responsible for teaching people that exploitation is acceptable. You are responsible for teaching them how to honor you, and boundaries are the language of that teaching. Do not fear being alone. Many people cling to unhealthy agreements because they fear that saying no will drive others away. But loneliness is not the absence of people, it is the absence of respect. And I would rather stand alone in dignity than crowded in betrayal. I would rather be misunderstood for a season than live misunderstood by myself for a lifetime. There is peace in boundaries, a peace so profound that it will silence the storms you have been carrying within. Think of a boundary like the fences around a garden. The flowers do not flourish because they are locked away. They flourish because the fence protects them from being trampled. You are no different. Without the fences of your self-respect, your beauty is stepped on, your fragrance is stolen, and your soil is eroded. With boundaries, you bloom. With boundaries, you stand tall, vibrant, and free. There is a strength in the quiet no spoken with steady eyes. There is a power in the simple act of walking away when someone refuses to honor your limits. That is not cruelty, that is clarity, and clarity is the purest gift you can give yourself. When you live with boundaries, you teach the world that you are not a vessel for their emptiness. You are not an endless well to be drained dry. You are not a stage for someone else's drama. You are a temple, and temples require reverence. So begin gently if you must. You do not have to roar to be respected. You can whisper your boundary, and if it is rooted in truth, it will echo. Practice with small things. Practice with the friend who assumes you are always available. Practice with the family member who demands more than they give. Practice with yourself when you are tempted to overextend. Each boundary built will strengthen your spine, sharpen your voice, and steady your heart. And know this, boundaries are not the end of love. They are the beginning of real love. Because love without respect is not love at all. It is dependence. It is control. It is fear. True love honors boundaries. True love listens when you say, "This is what I need." True love does not demand your silence. It invites your voice. You are worthy of that kind of love, but it begins with you. If you do not respect yourself, no one else can be expected to. If you do not draw the line, no one else will. If you do not guard your peace, the world will consume it without apology. So let your boundaries be bold. Let them rise from your tongue like truth. Let them flow from your spirit like a river. Let them shine from your body like armor. Stand firm in the knowledge that your boundaries are not barriers. They are bridges, bridges that carry you toward a life of dignity, of peace, and of freedom. Guilt is a heavy chain, and too many of us have been dragging it across the years of our lives. It is the quiet voice that questions every boundary you try to set, the trembling thought that whispers, "You are selfish, you are unkind, you are wrong for wanting peace." But guilt, my dear, is a liar. It is a thief, and its greatest robbery is freedom. There is a difference between guilt that is born from wrongdoing and guilt that is planted in us by the world's expectations. If you have harmed someone and your conscience reminds you to make amends, that is not guilt. That is responsibility. But if you are exhausted from giving too much and you finally whisper no, only to feel shame burning in your chest, that is not responsibility. That is manipulation. That is the world convincing you that your worth lies in your sacrifice. And that kind of guilt is poison. So many of us carry this poison from childhood. We were told that good children are obedient, that good daughters or sons never say no, that good friends never refuse, that good partners give without limits. We were told that love means losing ourselves for the comfort of others. And when we began to desire rest, when we began to crave space, when we began to protect our hearts, the guilt came rushing in like a flood. It convinced us that we were betraying those we loved. But what kind of love demands your destruction? What kind of affection requires you to abandon yourself? That is not love. That is consumption. Every time you bend to guilt, you hand over a piece of your freedom. You silence your truth. You betray your needs. You sacrifice your joy. And little by little, you become a stranger to yourself. Have you not noticed how guilt makes you small? How it lowers your eyes? How it ties your tongue? How it steals the courage from your spine? Guilt shrinks the human soul until the only way it feels safe is by disappearing. But you were not born to disappear. You were born to live boldly, to take up space, to breathe fully, to exist without apology. When you stand in your truth and declare a boundary, guilt may knock at your door. It will tell you that people will not love you if you do not bend. It will tell you that you are cold for saying no. It will remind you of every time you tried to please and failed. But you must learn to see guilt for what it is, a ghost, a shadow of the past, a whisper of lessons you no longer need to obey. You are no longer a child needing permission to be whole. You are grown, you are sacred, and you are free to live in alignment with your soul. Let me tell you this, guilt does not protect relationships, it poisons them. When you say yes out of guilt, you are not giving freely. You are giving resentfully. And resentment is a seed that grows wild and destructive. It twists love into obligation. It turns kindness into bitterness. It makes you smile when inside you are aching, and in time that resentment will rise like a storm. It will lash out, it will break bonds, it will leave scars. So if you truly wish to honor love, then you must love without guilt. And to love without guilt, you must first learn to stand in your freedom. Freedom is the ability to say yes with joy and no with peace. Freedom is the power to rest without apology, to speak without trembling, to walk away without explanation. Guilt will fight against that freedom because guilt feeds on your fear of rejection. But let me ask you, what is the worth of acceptance if you must trade your soul for it? What is the worth of approval if it requires your silence? What is the worth of being loved if the price is losing yourself? That is not freedom. That is slavery wrapped in smiles. There is a beautiful thing that happens when you stop bowing to guilt. At first, it feels terrifying. Your body shakes, your heart races. You think the world will abandon you, but then you breathe. And in that breath, you discover a new world. You find that people who truly love you will adjust, will honor your limits, will celebrate your courage. You find that those who only loved your obedience may walk away, and that is not loss, it is revelation. For it is better to lose those who feed on your silence than to keep them and starve your soul. Guilt is a thief, yes, but only if you allow it to steal. The moment you name it, the moment you say, "This is not mine to carry," you take back your keys, you open the cage, you walk into the sunlight of your own life, and guilt can only watch, powerless, as you rise into your freedom. Think about this truth. Every great change in history was made by someone who refused to be chained by guilt. Every revolution of the heart, every step toward justice, every voice that spoke when silence was demanded, each was a defiance of guilt. Because guilt will always try to convince you that obedience is safer, that silence is easier, that sacrifice is noble, but freedom has never come to those who bowed to guilt. Freedom belongs to those who recognize that their worth is not measured by what they endure for others, but by how fully they live in their own truth. So ask yourself today, what would my life look like without guilt? How would I walk if I did not fear disapproval? How would I speak if I did not worry about offending? How would I love if I gave from abundance instead of obligation? Close your eyes and imagine it. That is the life waiting for you. That is the life you deserve. And it is closer than you think. It begins the moment you let guilt fall from your shoulders like an old, tattered cloak. It begins the moment you choose freedom over fear. It begins with a simple but powerful declaration. I am no longer available to guilt. I am available to freedom. There is a word that carries more power than we have ever been taught to believe. It is short, sharp, and simple. Only 2 letters, yet it shakes the foundations of relationships, rewrites the script of lives, and liberates those who dare to speak it. That word is no. For too long, we have treated no like a curse, like a weapon, like a sign of selfishness. We have whispered it in shame, swallowed it in fear, buried it under apologies. But let me tell you the truth. No is not an enemy. No is holy. To say no when your spirit is weary is to honor the temple of your body. To say no when your heart is uneasy is to defend the sanctity of your peace. To say no when someone demands what you cannot give is to plant your feet firmly on the sacred soil of self-respect. There is divinity in the syllable. For every no you speak to what harms you is a yes to what heals you. Every no to chaos is a yes to order. Every no to depletion is a yes to restoration. But many of us were raised to fear this word. We were told that no closes doors, that no offends, that no drives people away. So we learned to smother it. We said yes when we wanted no. We agreed when we disagreed. We smiled when our souls screamed. We became fluent in betrayal, the betrayal of ourselves. And then we wondered why we were tired, bitter, unseen. It is because every denied no becomes a stone in your spirit. Sooner or later, the weight will crush you. There is a difference between cruelty and clarity. Cruelty seeks to harm, clarity seeks to protect. A holy no is clarity. It does not come from hatred. It does not come from pride. It comes from the sacred recognition that you too are worthy of care. When you speak a true no, you are not rejecting people. You are rejecting the destruction of your own soul. You are not refusing love, you are refusing to be diminished. Think of how the natural world lives in no. The sky says no to the ocean's waves climbing too high. The tree says no to being cut endlessly without renewal. The seasons say no to permanence, because winter must come before spring can arrive. Nature itself is sustained by boundaries, and yet we are told to live without them. Do you see the lie in that? Everything holy has a limit. Everything sacred knows its edge, and so must you. When you speak no, you are not only protecting yourself, you are teaching the world how to honor you. People learn your value not by how much you give, but by how clearly you draw the line. If you allow disrespect without consequence, you train others to repeat it. If you accept exhaustion as normal, you teach others that your energy is theirs to consume. But when you say no, firmly, without apology, you send a message. I am not here to be diminished. I am here to be whole. The first no may tremble. It may feel like breaking glass inside your chest. You may worry about rejection, about anger, about loss. And yes, some people may walk away, but those who leave because you honor yourself were never truly there for you. Their love was not love, it was transaction. Their presence was not presence, it was possession. When you say no, you do not lose real love. You clear the ground for it to finally arrive. Do not confuse no with selfishness. Selfishness is taking from others without regard. A holy no is giving to yourself so you may give authentically to others. If your well is dry and you say yes, what are you offering? Dust, emptiness, bitterness. But if you guard your well with no, if you refill it with rest and care, then when you say yes, you pour out living water. Your yes becomes meaningful because it is no longer forced. It is chosen. The world will not always applaud your no. Some will call you hard. Some will call you unkind. Some will call you difficult. But remember, these are the words of those who benefited from your silence. Do not measure your worth by their discontent. Measure it by the peace you feel when you stand in your truth. Peace is the applause of the soul, and it is worth more than the approval of the crowd. There will be times when you need to say no to yourself, too. No to old habits that keep you small. No to the inner critic that calls you unworthy. No to the fears that keep you from trying. This, too, is a holy act. to look yourself in the eye and declare, "No, I will not betray myself any longer. No, I will not settle for less. No, I will not abandon my calling." This is how transformation begins. Imagine a life where your no is not wrapped in apologies, not followed by excuses, not drenched in shame. Imagine a life where your no is spoken with steady eyes, with a calm voice, with a heart that knows its own worth. That life is possible. It is waiting for you, but it will not come through endless yeses. It will come the moment you honor the holiness of no. Think of how liberating it would be to know that every time you speak this word, you are not closing a door, you are opening one. You are opening the door to your peace, your health, your joy, your destiny. You are clearing space for what truly belongs to you. You are creating room for those who can love you without consuming you. You are setting the stage for a life that does not drain you, but nourishes you. So let the word rise in your chest. Let it find its way to your lips. Do not fear its sound. Speak it as a prayer, as a song, as a proclamation of freedom. Let it roll from your tongue like thunder. Let it settle in your spirit like peace. Say it when you are pressured. Say it when you are afraid. Say it when the world demands more than you can give. And remember, every no that honors your soul is not an end, but a beginning. There is a sacred truth that often goes unspoken. People do not simply know how to love you. They may love you the way they know how. They may love you from their wounds. They may love you from their hunger. But unless you teach them, they cannot know the way your soul longs to be held. And the way you teach them is through boundaries. Boundaries are not punishments. They are not walls of cruelty. Boundaries are lessons in love. They are the language of respect. They are the way you say to the world, "This is how I need to be treated if you wish to remain in my presence." Every person carries a manual of love, but many keep it locked away, hidden under silence and resentment. We assume that people should just know. We believe that if they really cared, they would understand. But how can they understand what you never speak? How can they honor what you never reveal? Boundaries are the manual brought into the light. They are the instructions that say, "Do not call me names when you are angry. Do not expect me to answer the phone at midnight when I am resting. Do not enter my spirit with disrespect and expect me to remain." Boundaries are not selfish, they are clarity. Clarity is a kindness not only to you but to others. Without boundaries, people stumble in the dark of your silence, and when they bruise you, you bleed in bitterness. But when you draw the line clearly, you hand them a map. You say, "If you want to walk with me, walk this way." And those who truly love you will adjust their steps. They will learn. They will listen. They will reshape the way they approach you because your boundaries have given them direction. Have you ever noticed that when you finally set a boundary, people sometimes look surprised? It is not because you are wrong. It is because you have trained them by your silence. You have allowed behaviors you did not want. You have endured words that cut deep. You have smiled when your heart was wounded. You may not have meant to, but you taught them that your limits could be ignored. And when you suddenly declare no more, it shakes their world. But that is not betrayal, it is correction. You are teaching them now how to love you in truth. Love without boundaries is not love at all. It is assumption, it is entitlement, it is possession. True love asks, "How can I honor you?" True love listens when you answer. And true love adjusts when you say, "This is what I need." Boundaries are the way you separate those who love the idea of you from those who love the truth of you. For the idea of you may be convenient, always giving, never resisting, endlessly available. But the truth of you is human, with needs, with desires, with limits. Only those willing to embrace that truth deserve to stay. Do not let fear silence you. Too many of us keep our boundaries buried because we are afraid of loss. We believe that if we set them, people will leave, and perhaps some will. But hear me, when someone walks away because you chose respect, you have not lost love. You have lost exploitation. You have not lost companionship. You have lost consumption. And in their place, you make room for those who will love you rightly, wholly, honorably. Teaching others how to love you is not a one-time lesson. It is a lifelong practice. Each new season of your life may call for new boundaries. When you are young, you may need to say no to peer pressure. As you grow, you may need to say no to work that drains your soul. In love, you may need to say no to words that bruise your spirit. In family, you may need to say no to cycles that wound generation after generation. And every time you raise a new boundary, you are teaching again, reinforcing the lesson, refining the way others hold you. Do not think that boundaries drive love away. Boundaries purify love. They strip it of pretense. They reveal who is willing to stay and who only came to take. They are the sieve through which shallow affection falls and true affection remains. If you want to know who is really for you, set a boundary. If they argue, if they mock, if they manipulate, you have your answer. If they listen, if they adjust, if they honor, then you have found a love worth keeping. Consider the great power of your no and your yes when spoken through boundaries. When you say, I cannot accept being spoken to in this way, you are not only protecting your spirit, you are teaching someone to grow. You are showing them a new way to love, a new way to respect, a new way to honor. Boundaries do not just transform your life, they can transform the lives of those around you. For many people have never seen respect lived out loud. Your courage may be their first lesson in it. And let us not forget, boundaries are also a way you love yourself. When you teach others how to love you, you are reminding yourself of how worthy you are of love. You are telling your own heart, I will not accept crumbs when I was created for abundance. You are showing your own spirit that you can trust yourself to protect it. That trust will strengthen you. It will carry you. It will allow you to walk into every space knowing that you are not at the mercy of anyone else's treatment. You have already set the terms. The world may not thank you for your boundaries, but your soul will. The ones who truly love you will. The generations that come after you will. Because every time you say, this is how I must be treated, you are breaking cycles of silence. You are rewriting stories of self-betrayal. You are raising a standard that will ripple beyond your own life. And in doing so, you are teaching more than how to love you. You are teaching how to love, period. There comes a time in the journey of every soul when healing whispers your name. It does not always arrive with trumpets or thunder. Sometimes it comes in quiet realizations, in gentle awakenings, in the simple act of finally saying no more. Healing is not only found in the mending of wounds or the softening of pain, it is revealed in the choices you begin to make after the storm. And one of the clearest mirrors of your healing is your willingness to set boundaries. Once, you may have tolerated disrespect because you believed you had no choice. Once, you may have endured neglect because you thought that was the cost of love. Once, you may have accepted words that cut deep, treatment that drained your soul because you thought your worth was too small to ask for more. But healing changes the story. Healing turns silence into voice, fear into courage, and tolerance into wisdom. Where once you said nothing, healing teaches you to speak. Where once you allowed chaos, healing teaches you to guard peace. Where once you thought survival was enough, healing teaches you to demand thriving. Boundaries become the reflection of this transformation. They show you and the world that the person you once were has grown. You no longer mistake endurance for strength. You no longer confuse loyalty with self-betrayal. You no longer hide your pain behind a smile just to keep others comfortable. Healing teaches you that love without respect is not love, that companionship without safety is not companionship, and that sacrifice without balance is not holy. And your boundaries stand as the evidence of this new understanding. Each boundary you set is like a scar healed over, proof that you once bled, but now you live. When you say, I cannot allow this in my life anymore, you are acknowledging that once you did, and it nearly destroyed you. But healing has taught you better. Healing has opened your eyes. Healing has whispered to your spirit, you are worth more than this. And so you draw a line, not in bitterness, not in revenge, but in reverence for the life you now know you deserve. There is a quiet beauty in realizing that the things which once held power over you no longer have a claim. The insults that used to pierce you now slide off your skin. The manipulation that once trapped you now meets a wall. The demands that once drained you now hear a calm, steady no. This is healing at work, not in loud declarations, but in the daily practice of protecting your peace. Your boundaries are the mirror, showing you that the wound has closed, that the infection has been cleared, that the soul has remembered its dignity. Do not be surprised if people resist this healed version of you. They may miss the version who bent, who agreed, who stayed silent. They may call your growth arrogance. They may label your boundaries cruelty, but their discomfort does not mean you are wrong. It means you have changed, and that change is sacred. For healing is not meant to make everyone else comfortable. Healing is meant to make you whole, and sometimes wholeness will require that others adjust or depart. Healing does not erase the past. The memories may still visit. The scars may still ache in the cold of certain nights. But healing ensures that the past does not dictate your future. And boundaries are the proof. Where once a wound would have been reopened by familiar hands, now a boundary says, you cannot touch me this way again. Where once your silence would have allowed the cycle to repeat, now your voice breaks it. Where once your soul was open to every trespass, now your spirit guards its gates with dignity. Boundaries are also the way you track your own growth. Think back to what you once tolerated that you no longer allow. Think of the apologies you used to offer for simply existing, and how now you stand unapologetically in your truth. Think of the places you once entered with fear that you now avoid with clarity. These shifts are not random. They are signs that your healing has taken root, signs that the seeds of self-worth, once buried beneath shame, are now blooming in the sunlight of your awareness. And the more you heal, the clearer your boundaries become. They are no longer born of anger, but of peace. They are no longer drawn from fear, but from wisdom. They are no longer shaky or uncertain, but steady, calm, and unwavering. This is how you know healing has taken place, because the boundary no longer feels like a fight. It feels like a natural extension of who you are. It feels like breathing. Boundaries, in truth, are love letters to yourself. They say, I will not abandon you again. I will not silence you again. I will not allow you to be mistreated just to keep the peace. I will honor you, protect you, and defend you because you are worthy. And when you live this way, others begin to see it too. Healing reflected through boundaries becomes contagious. It shows others that they too are allowed to draw the line. It teaches them that respect is not negotiable, that peace is not optional, that dignity is not too much to ask. Yes, healing is messy. Yes, healing takes time. Yes, healing asks you to grieve the versions of yourself that once survived by silence. But healing also gives you gifts, and one of its greatest gifts is the courage to say, I am no longer available for harm. That is what boundaries are. not fences of fear, but declarations of healing. Proof that you have stepped out of the shadows and into the light. Proof that you are no longer defined by wounds, but by wisdom. Proof that your story is still unfolding, and it is unfolding with strength. So the next time you hesitate to draw a line, the next time you fear you will be called selfish, the next time guilt comes knocking, remember this: your boundary is not cruelty. Your boundary is not rejection. Your boundary is the mirror of your healing. It shows the world who you have become. And more importantly, it shows you yourself that you are no longer broken, you are becoming whole. Every soul is born with a fire inside it. That fire is your purpose, the reason you rise each morning, the silent call that whispers to you when the world grows quiet. It is not always loud, but it is always there, waiting for you to give it room to burn brighter. Yet how often does that flame grow dim, not because your purpose is weak, but because your energy has been scattered in 100 directions, pulled into battles that were never yours, drained by demands that did not belong to your destiny. This is why boundaries matter. They are not walls to keep life out. They are rivers that guide your energy toward what matters most. Without them, you can become a servant to everyone else's urgency, a responder to everyone else's call, a vessel for everyone else's need. And in the process, the fire of your purpose flickers low, starved of the oxygen of your attention. But with boundaries, you learn to feed the flame. You learn to say, I will not spend myself on things that do not honor my calling. I will not pour myself into cups that only leak. I will not scatter my spirit so thin that I forget the reason I am here. Think about how many hours are lost in the name of pleasing others. How many days have been consumed by commitments you never wanted but were too afraid to refuse? How many seasons of your life have slipped away in conversations, in conflicts, in responsibilities that left you exhausted but unfulfilled? That is the silent theft of boundarylessness. It does not always arrive with loud alarms. It creeps in slowly, stealing minutes, stealing strength, stealing clarity. And before you know it, the vision you once carried so clearly becomes blurry. The path you once walked with certainty becomes overgrown. Boundaries are how you reclaim that path. They are how you gather the pieces of yourself that you have scattered and bring them back to your purpose. Each no you speak to distractions is a yes to your calling. Each refusal to carry burdens that are not yours is an honoring of the sacred task that is. Each time you guard your time, your rest, your focus, you are saying to life itself, I know why I am here and I refuse to squander it. Your purpose does not demand perfection, but it does demand presence. And presence requires energy, undivided, unfragmented, uncluttered. When your energy is scattered, your gifts are dulled. When your energy is guarded, your gifts sharpen into tools that can carve change into the world. That is why boundaries are not selfish. They are stewardship. They are the discipline of one who knows their life is not random, that their voice is not accidental, that their existence is not disposable. It is tempting to believe that giving endlessly is proof of goodness. But what if true goodness is not found in exhausting yourself for everyone, but in preserving enough of yourself to fulfill the work you were born to do? A burned out spirit cannot build. A weary soul cannot create. A body emptied of strength cannot climb. If you give everything to everyone, what will you have left for the assignment written only for you? Boundaries are the way you ensure that when life asks for your offering, you still have something left to give. Even nature teaches this. The river does not flow without banks. The tree does not grow without bark. The sun does not shine without distance from the earth. Everything powerful in creation has a boundary to preserve its strength. Why should you be any different? If the universe itself honors limits, why do you believe you must live without them? Boundaries align you with the rhythm of creation, with the wisdom of life itself, which knows that to protect is not to diminish, but to endure. Consider this: every yes you give has a cost. You may not see the price immediately, but it is there. When you say yes to someone else's demand, what are you saying no to in your own soul? When you say yes to endless noise, what silence of inspiration have you refused? When you say yes to pleasing others, what calling of your own have you delayed? Every purpose requires sacrifice, but the question is, are you sacrificing for the vision you were born for, or for the comfort of people who may never understand it? Boundaries are not only about what you refuse, they are about what you protect. Protect your mornings if they are the time your spirit awakens. Protect your nights if they are when your creativity blooms. Protect your rest if your body whispers that it needs to heal. Protect your solitude if that is when your soul hears the voice of guidance most clearly. Protect your energy, for without it, even the brightest purpose will wither. And let me tell you this truth: not everyone will understand your boundaries. Some will call you distant, some will call you difficult, some will call you selfish, but what they cannot see is the sacred flame you are protecting. They cannot see the weight of the purpose that rests on your shoulders. They cannot see the chapters yet unwritten, the work yet undone, the legacy yet unbuilt. And you must learn to live with their misunderstanding, because your purpose is too great to be explained to everyone. Your destiny is too important to be diluted by endless justifications. You are not here to be everything to everyone. You are here to be true to the reason you were sent, and that truth requires energy, clear, focused, guarded energy. Boundaries preserve that energy. They keep the fire burning. They ensure that when the time comes for you to step fully into your purpose, you will not arrive empty but full. You will not arrive drained but strong. You will not arrive lost in the noise of others but anchored in the music of your own calling. So do not fear the disappointment of others when you draw your lines. Fear instead the tragedy of a life wasted, a fire extinguished, a calling ignored because you were too busy managing everyone else's storms to chase your own sunrise. Guard your energy, protect your flame, honor your purpose, and let your boundaries be the vessels that carry you there. Freedom is a word we all long for. We sing about it, we march for it, we pray for it, we chase it in every season of our lives. Yet so often we misunderstand it. We think freedom is doing everything, saying everything, being everywhere, giving endlessly without pause. We think freedom is boundless living, no rules, no restraints, no lines drawn. But true freedom is not chaos. True freedom is not the absence of limits. True freedom is found in the wisdom to create boundaries that protect the life you were meant to live. Without boundaries, life can feel wide but shallow. You may say yes to everything, but in doing so, you commit to nothing fully. You may pour yourself into every demand, but never have the strength left to water your own roots. You may stretch yourself so thin, trying to please the world, that you forget the shape of your own soul. That is not freedom, that is bondage. It is the bondage of people-pleasing, the chains of exhaustion, the prison of being everything to everyone except yourself. Boundaries are not barriers to freedom, they are the very tools that carve it. When you set a boundary, you are not closing yourself off. You are opening yourself up to live with clarity. You are choosing not to be ruled by every opinion, every request, every distraction. You are declaring, my life belongs to me, my choices are my own, and my spirit will not be enslaved by what drains me. That is freedom. Freedom born of discernment, freedom born of discipline, Freedom born of knowing that your soul was not designed to carry the world on its back. Think of a bird in flight. Its wings are wide, its motion graceful, its path open to the skies. But without the structure of those wings, without the bone and feather working in harmony, the bird could not rise. Boundaries are your wings. They give you the structure you need to soar. They hold your freedom together. Without them, you are not free. You are falling. So many people live their lives mistaking limitlessness for liberty. They believe saying yes to everything makes them generous. They believe tolerating mistreatment makes them strong. They believe letting others cross every line makes them loving. But freedom without protection is not freedom. It is erosion. It eats away at your spirit until you are only a shadow of yourself. Boundaries are how you preserve your strength so that your yes still means something, so that your love remains pure, so that your presence carries power. There is a sacred kind of relief that comes when you finally understand this truth. You begin to realize that you do not have to explain yourself to everyone. You do not have to be available at every moment. You do not have to say yes out of fear of losing approval. You begin to breathe easier, walk lighter, and stand taller, because your life is no longer dictated by the endless demands of others. Your freedom is not found in pleasing everyone. Your freedom is found in living authentically within the boundaries that protect your peace. Do not mistake boundaries for cages. Cages are built to trap. Boundaries are built to free. A cage silences you, but a boundary gives you voice. A cage restricts your being, but a boundary protects your becoming. A cage forces you into someone else's will, but a boundary honors your own. And when you live in that truth, you begin to taste freedom in its purest form. The freedom to be yourself, wholly and unapologetically. Freedom is not reckless indulgence. Freedom is responsibility balanced with grace. Freedom is not about living with no thought of consequence. It is about living so intentionally that your life sings with meaning. And boundaries are what make that possible. They guide you away from the paths that would destroy you. They keep you from losing yourself in the storms of others. They keep you rooted so that when the winds of life blow, you may bend, but you will not break. It takes courage to believe that freedom is found in boundaries. The world will tell you otherwise. The world will glorify the grind, applaud the burnout, and reward those who give until they are empty, but you must know better. You must understand that your freedom cannot be bought with self-betrayal. You must understand that your liberation is not in endless yeses, but in the sacred no's that keep your soul intact. There will be those who resist your freedom. They will prefer you chained to their convenience, tethered to their expectations, bound by their comfort. They will call your boundaries selfish. They will call your freedom rebellion. But remember this, those who fear your boundaries are those who benefited from your lack of them. Do not return to bondage just to keep them satisfied. Your freedom is not theirs to dictate. Your freedom is your birthright. And this freedom is not only for you. When you live within the safety of your boundaries, you become a beacon. You show others that it is possible to be loving and firm, generous and guarded, open-hearted and self-respecting. You model a new way of being, where freedom does not destroy but builds, where love does not weaken but strengthens, where giving does not empty but overflows. Your boundaries give permission to others to do the same. And in this way, your freedom creates ripples that reach further than you can imagine. So when you feel guilty for protecting your peace, remind yourself, this is not restriction, this is liberation. When you worry about what others will think, remind yourself, their opinions are not the price of your freedom. When you fear you may lose people by setting boundaries, remind yourself, anyone who cannot respect your freedom was never meant to walk with you into your destiny. Yes, freedom is found in boundaries. The freedom to rest without apology. The freedom to dream without distraction. the freedom to love without losing yourself, the freedom to stand in the fullness of who you are, unchained by guilt, unburdened by fear, unbound by the weight of expectations that were never yours to carry. That freedom is not reckless. That freedom is not chaotic. That freedom is holy. And it begins the moment you choose to honor your life with the gift of boundaries. So I say to you, do not feel guilty when you stand tall in your truth. Do not apologize when you guard your peace. Do not shrink when you claim your voice. Let your boundaries be like rivers, flowing with strength, guiding the world in how it may touch the shores of your life. You are not cruel for saying no. You are not selfish for protecting your peace. You are wise, you are whole, and you are free. And the next time guilt comes knocking at your door, remember this. You owe the world your light, but you do not owe the world your life.